Well, hello. So now that the Star Wars Skywalker saga is done, let's rank them. Now, please do remember, this is totally subjective. It's what I think. And obviously, if you disagree, that's totally fine. And without further ado, let's get this going. So there are basically 11 in total. So let's start from the bottom up. So number 11. Here I'm going to put Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, I don't think it's a bad movie. It was just that it didn't really add anything. It was an origin kind of story, but it relied way too much on like, oh, how did he get the ship? How did he get the dice? Or all these things that it kind of relied on. I just don't think the story was really interesting. There was no kind of punch to it. Now, the last 10 minutes of the movie where, without spoiling it, there's a thing that happens and there's a big surprise towards the end. Besides that, though, that was good, but besides that, there was kind of nothing to the movie. I thought it was just really boring. Next up, number 10. And here I'm going to add Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Man, there's like these two movies in it. So on one hand, you have that love story that will bore you to death. That was not well done. And I don't have a problem with them adding or George Lucas adding a love story in it, but it was just the way it was done. The dialogue was bad. The scenes, all of it was just cringeworthy, and just the special effects and all that. That one particular scene, if you know, was really bad. On the other hand, there's actually a good movie, or this mystery that Obi-Wan Kenobi is actually on this mission and he's trying to find out what's going on, which is actually interesting because the movie actually dives into more of what the political nature and what's going behind the scenes. So it's kind of a 50-50 film. Overall, it ends up being a meh kind of movie. So, yeah. Next up will be number 9. And here I'm going to add Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, this is kind of a weird one because growing up, I actually loved this movie. Now, because I actually grew up on the prequels, so I knew all the surprises and I knew all the lines, I am your father and all the secrets, because I saw scenes from the original trilogy here and there, but I actually, as in one sitting, if you want to say it, I actually started watching the movies properly, in proper order, starting from The Phantom Menace. So growing up, I thought it was a good movie. Now, though, when you kind of look at it, there is good in the movie, especially towards like the last hour and the final battle. But the scenes when they actually find Anakin, some of that could have been chopped off, and the pacing, although it starts really good and they're on this mission and things starting to happen, right in the middle of the movie it drags. And Jar Jar Binks, I understand what they were going for, but now if you look at it, that character could have been used much better, and the way it was done, it was more annoying and it didn't really add to the story. More, it created problems. Yeah, towards the end, more he does something, but even then it was not that special. So next up, number 8, and here where this list is gonna start to get very different from some of y'all expecting. I'm gonna add number 8 is Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Yep. So to me personally, the movie definitely lives up to the name. You definitely feel the Return of the Jedi. But you know what? That Ewoks and that story, they could have used a different alien race, but I just don't believe them killing stormtroopers. Man, with them swinging rocks and all, like, really? So that, for me itself, just derailed the movie. Like, every time it was them and they're on screen, the movie, like, it kind of just didn't go anywhere. And I know they were it was children friendly and all, but as to me, it didn't resonate well. But the rest of the movie, besides all that, it was on point. But to me, that part, the Ewoks, really kind of brought down the movie for me. Next up will be number 7. And here I'm going to add Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Now, to be honest, I actually like the movie. Now, at the same time, though, I do think that they took too many risks. I don't mind any kind of saga or any franchise taking risks. At some point, you gotta change, and you gotta change the formula. But what happened with that one, and what I believe, is that they took too many risks. They should have kind of done step by step, or at least not take that many risks. At every point that you expected them to do something, or what fans were expecting, they went the other way. The thing with Snoke, the thing with Luke, some of it just doesn't work. Other stuff, it worked, but overall, I do think that at that point, right when you're in the middle of the trilogy, I think was the wrong time to take that many risks. If you really wanted to change, should have waited till, episode 9. So there's that. Next up will be number 6. And here I'm going to add episode 4, A New Hope. Now, if you look at the movie now, I understand when that movie came out, it was a big thing, it was something new. So, but I'm kind of rating it as an overall, and as kind of if you watch it now, the world, all the imagination and the special effects that were put into it at that time, I understand that it was very, very well received. But at this time, if you watch it now, you do understand the fall, some of the pacing at the start, the way things kind of flow. It definitely gets going more towards the second and third act. And I understand it's a setup, but at this time, I do think some of the other films are better than A New Hope. That's me. Next up will be number 5. And here I'm going to add the most recent one, Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, this one is a very tough one, because where do you go? Where do you go? Even if even if episode 7 and episode 8 were great movies, episode 9 still was going to be divisive. There is no way, when you end a saga, when you end a trilogy, and you have to end the movie on its own too, all of this saying that everybody's going to accept it. But the way the previous episode, The Last Jedi, went, they had to do the best they could. I do feel this movie could have been at least a half hour longer easily, so they could add a bit more. The pacing was just way too fast. I mean, things are coming at you with the pace of you do get, it's overdone. It's too much. But at the same time, I do think it was a good effort in the ending with what they had in ending the saga and in the trilogy. Next up will be number 4. Here I'm going to add episode 7, The Force Awakens. Now, this film, is a very return to form. It's a great return to form. Yes, there are some things that are kind of similar to what they did with The New Hope, and some of the story beats are similar, but I do think, especially this, the return of the Death Star and the new name, Starkiller, same thing. They could have done something else, but I do think there's enough freshness in the movie so that it's actually a great movie of its own. The characters, the pacing, I think, was really good. The characters that they introduced are actually interesting, and it really set up a good trilogy. But we know how all that went. So next up is gonna be number 3, and here I'm gonna add episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Man, this is what you would expect from a sequel. It's one of the best sequels out there. It got the pacing right. It started strong. The training, obviously at this time, if you look at the special effects and the training montage, I get it. They could only do enough stuff back in the day, but for what it was the space battles, everything. They added more, and they really went out of their way to add to the special effects, to add to the story, to add to the big reveal. All of it. It was very, very well done. It's almost perfect movie. Number 2. Here I'm gonna add Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Man, this was a very surprising movie, and such a good movie at that. Even though everybody knows that it's part of the Star Wars universe and how it connects to A New Hope, when it came out, everybody was kind of wondering, okay, where this movie gonna go and what's the need of it? And they were really a big plot hole, if you want to call it, all these years in A New Hope about the Death Star. I'm not gonna spoil it if you've not seen it. They really addressed it, and it was really good. The setup, that first 2 acts, and the setup, the emotional beats, and the journey, and then the final battle and that Darth Vader scene, it was all well done. Yes, the movie was going to be darker, and I think they had to do some reshoots, and there were some things redone to make it more lighter, but still, it was I think at that time it was needed. We've had enough of the lightsaber battles, and we had enough of the Skywalker saga. So at that point in the Star Wars timeline, when that movie came out, I think it was very much needed, and it hit on all cylinders. Now, number 1, and this is where I'm pretty sure people are gonna freak out and hate me for it, but yeah, Episode 3, The Revenge of the Sith, is my favorite Star Wars movie. And everything about it, I like it. Obviously there's some things you can always nitpick, but I think as pacing wise, the characters, even though you know what's about to happen. I remember when I first watched it, I knew what was going to happen. It was just that I was in theater watching the first showing, and I was like, maybe it's not gonna happen. I want it not to happen. You really see the relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin, and how it breaks down, and how he's breaking down, and the darkness kind of filling up in him. And you know what, how the Jedi Council is like kind of reacting to him, how Obi-Wan is reacting to him, how is he's reacting to all the things that are happening, and the Palpatine's character, how he's kind of manipulative, and how he's kind of, he's bringing all these chess pieces together for his final kind of showdown against the Jedi. It all worked. The movie, for me, to this day, never let down. And hey, even the dialogue between Padme and Anakin, all of it, actually, it's what you would wanted from the first 2 episodes. It was really well done. The dialogue, the delivery, and their acting improved big time. So yeah, to this day, I do think, every time I watch that movie, it just puts a smile on my face like none of the others. So yeah, there you go. That is my list. And again, remember, this is totally subjective. If you hate the list, if you dislike the list, it's totally fine. But at the same time, let me know in the comments what's your ranking, and yeah, we'll do our discussion there. So again, guys and gals, everyone, thanks for watching. Please remember, like, dislike, comment, and subscribe, and let me know how I'm doing. And with that, thanks for watching again, and I will see y'all later.